fortunate enough at a young age to come into contact with some very, very great beings. I realized that this whole world is just like a speck of dust floating in that space. Have you ever watched specks of dust that are floating in the air? This huge world, globe that we're living on, in comparison to that gigantic, immense, incomprehensible reality, is just like a little dust floating in the space. If you own the world, you're still that, compared to that vastness. But just on the other side of that simplicity and that innocence, we're everybody and everything. This story of the Enlightened Mind is not about nobody. The events in my life make no difference. But if something that happened to me can be a signpost to assist others to finish their journey, to understand the steps, to realize how to rebuild this body, how to rebuild this life, how to reconnect with this infinity, and really live an illuminated life, then it's of value. Very early in my life, when I was 21, I was on the cusp of that. And doing all those things that were destroying my life. In spite of the fact that from a young child I did have insights. I did have memories of past lives. I was already meditating when I was 5 years old. I would climb in the hampers and the closets and sit there in the dark and look at the world. And when the lights were dimmed, everything looked so alive to me. Vibrating with life. And I would lay in my bed and imagine that I would go to the beach and not realize that my imaginations were true. I was like water or air flowing through them. And when I looked at this face, it didn't look like a boy. There was another face behind it. And another face behind that. I didn't know what that was. And so in a sense, having that so much in front of me, I became very desperate for some answers, for some insight, just for a little love. And you know, one of my first greatest teachers was my dog. I had a dog, Coco, German Shepherd, and he was always enthusiastic. He never said no to me. He would always run up to me at the moment I opened my door and go, "Let's go play," you know. So we would run out, and I became Coco, my dog. And I would eat his biscuits, and I would laugh, and we would, you know, and when I looked in the eyes of my pet, there was no judgment, right? Like the eyes of a baby. But that was the first of a number of tragedies that woke me up. We ran over my dog, and when he was lying dying, I felt like I was dying. And I saw the spirit of him go up and pass away. There are beings in the world that know. There are. That are living a love that does not die. And literally are living a life that is forever. And we know that we're infinite. We believe that. We've been around. We know that. But there's a difference between that and living in that space. Obviously there is. And all the struggles that we're going through in our life are about that, to live in that space. And so in 1976, I met all three of my teachers in one place. Unbelievable time in Switzerland. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, very reserved, regal, like a king. Swami Muktananda, which was a wild man, throwing that Shakti around everywhere, in every direction, walking up to somebody and giving him a hug, and he just couldn't hold it back. Different personalities, same consciousness. And there were other saints around him at that time. And then in the background there was a young man, 21 years old, totally unknown. And in the story, in The Secret Journey to the Enlightened Mind, I didn't realize that he was in the background there for 30 years. And that was the young Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, 21 years old, who had come into the remembrance of that enlightened state. I didn't select him. I woke up out of the slumber of this consciousness in an amazing place. Not in this physical body. The earth was gone. All the elements were gone. I didn't understand this for many years. Okay. And I was in a body like a perfect bubble, floating in a horizon with the radiant earth below, and the sky above. And in that place, the infinity was undeniable. The immortality was undeniable. There were no words, there was nothing that could be said. And in that space was another being like that, floating in that. And I wondered, by the way, you're used to this form. And if it all of a sudden disappeared, you would wonder where it is. And that's what I did. I wondered where it was. And I discovered what actually happened is a hand manifested right out of that infinite space. A leg manifested. You are right. We create this by our thoughts, by our consciousness, by every loving action that we have, of course, feeding it with that whole life source of energy. And then the next moment it disappeared. Floated back into that. And in that space there was another being, and he said that I brought you here because of your devotion. I didn't know what devotion was. For the last 4 or 5 days tears had been running down my face. I didn't know. I knew nothing about spiritual teachers. Okay? But the very presence of that much energy around me, something inside of me, something in my heart said, oh my God, what am I missing? Sometimes, of course, you feel that as well. We all have those moments, right? Nobody's around and something inside us says, please. And that gift that I received is the ability to see the infinity. Sanskrit is called Ritambarapakya. And then after a few moments, I woke up out of a deep sleep in my body again, and then I realized how totally unconscious I was. Now those events and those moments became the core of my life. To understand what that is. How could it be that so much could be translated and given in such a short period of time? My mind was totally boggled by it. And I woke out of that and tears running down my face. And that was the journey that I began. That major journey, second major journey, into the Enlightened Mind. And honestly, it took me 30 years to come to the ability to live in that kind of space and to be here. At that time, when Maharshi was talking, he said that it would be possible to enlighten a person. You could have 3 enlightened beings, and it would be possible to enlighten a person in 3 days. Anybody want to take that course? Okay. 3 days? Okay, finished with everything? All the suffering, all the struggling, all the other, everything? You could do that. That would be possible. If we had, let's say, merit, although it isn't merit, to do that. But guess what? We wouldn't be functional. We would be so totally fried, we would be in that state, that we wouldn't be, and there are actually people in the world like that. Mir Baba talked about these. These are the mass, the people that are just, they're in that. And they're actually, in the United States, people that are in what we would call a catatonic state, they're not.
Yeah.
They're living in that space. Okay. But they're living at such a high, intense level of consciousness that, in a certain sense, all links with this is gone. Okay. And all around them, the people are working, they're happy. To be there in that asylum around us, they don't know why. There. This is the truth. So we're all on the secret journey, aren't we? What do we want? Really?
Love.
A love. But love causes most of the problems in this world. You know that?
Peace.
If there was no love in this world, there would be no war. There would be no greed.
Right, you never be able to hurt anybody.
But we would be like automatons. Okay? Just imagine if there was no challenge in your life. The refrigerator is stocked with everything. The bank account is stocked with everything. You have the most beautiful, palatious place. You get up in the morning, you eat, you watch a little television, you eat again, you do something else, and you go to sleep. Imagine if you did that day after day after day. Would that be a life? It wouldn't.
You could be somewhere on a snow mountain skiing every day.
But you see, the thing is that these senses are limited. What do you want? You want limitless joy. You want limitless love. You want limitless knowledge. Don't you? And anything that you can have through the senses is limited. You love cherry pie. Okay, have your cherry pie.
But then you'd be sick of it.
One piece, and another piece, and another piece, and another piece, and another piece. Sir, you love beautiful music. Listen to music. Okay, you love to have a relationship. So have a relationship and have limitless, the same things that you love so much would make you totally sick. That shows that the senses are limited in their ability to give. No matter how many beautiful sceneries you have. Sitting on the ocean in Hawaii by the crashing rocks and all of that. After a while, it's like cereal. Dead. Right? That limited love, that limitless fulfillment is what we are made of.